when Eclipse started working at the store, you know, Ill Bill he did some solo stuff. He had a record on a Southpaw label called Southpaw, so it was an Ill Bill record. And I remember we got it, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good." And Eclipse happened to just know Search, and that's when they had formed Non-Phixion. So he saw that I put out the first record independently, and he saw that we were selling a ton of records independently. So he's like, "Hey, we're trying to do this this record." So I was like, you know, "Hey, let's hook up." So they recorded it and everything. So yeah, we put it together and put that, you know, the first Non-Phixion 12-inch out.
So at this time with Fat Beats distribution, what did that mean? Did that mean you were getting it into 5 stores around the world? Did it mean 50 stores? Like, what was the initial, when you first started, what was that real reach of distribution through Fat Beats?
Well, these weren't through Fat Beats, so these were through Big Daddy distribution.
Okay.
So I didn't hook up with Rich yet. So Rich was still at Big Daddy. So the 2 records I did, you know, first one was Rob Swift featuring the Cracker Jacks. Second one was Non-Phixion, which was Legacy and No Tomorrow, the 2 singles. And they went through Big Daddy distribution.
Okay.
So he had good reach. He was, you know, he had a lot of accounts. The accounts that especially that liked this. So he had, you know, he had Groove Attack in Germany, and he had an account in England, account in Germany. He had and in Japan also. And it seemed like those were get out. Europe was, you know, very up on the independent music. So from there would get out to all of Europe. And that's why a lot of these artists would they would do tours and shows in Europe before they even did them in their home, you know, home state. So yeah, Big Daddy and Rich King was the one that got them all out. And then I eventually partnered with Rich in '96 to start Fat Beats distribution.
Okay. And how did that change or evolve or affect what was going on in the store?
Well, the thing was, like, the store now, you know, it seemed like the scene had a place to go. Now, you know, mind you, we cater to all hip hop, but like, as you know, in just life in general, music sells more than, you know, dance and art, you know, combined. So, you know, music is what we sort of, you know, was what I was pushing, because that's, you know, that's what was making the money. So the distribution part of it, we just started, you know, distributing. The popularity of the store helped a lot, you know, and we also had, you know, great music. It wasn't, you know, these were great titles that we were taking in at first. And Rich King had a great reputation, because at the time, again, the scene was nowhere near what it was now. I mean, all these independent guys didn't really know that they could sell stuff, you know, themselves. So because of Rich's reputation and the history with the store now, or the store's name started coming out, when we started distributing, people were like, "We want to take this stuff in. We heard about these records." And also, a lot of these guys that were traveling would go back to their towns, and they would go to the stores and try to get jobs and stuff. So the scene just kind of snowballed, and the artists were really hungry. And I think they started noticing that, you know, if I really want to make a name for myself, I got to do this thing independently. So they started pushing themselves too. And yeah, it made things, I wouldn't say it made them easy, but, you know, when you have really good music, you know, it's like, it's eventually people start believing you, and they're convinced that, you know, they're gonna make money off the stuff you're selling them.
Right. And you had mentioned Showbiz and AG. And I remember also that with Diamond D and Digging in the Crates, and then Big L with Ebonics, there was a lot of Fat Beat stuff there as well. So lots of questions there, but first of all, how and why did that relationship develop so well with Digging in the Crates?
Well, with Lord Finesse. I mean, Lord Finesse opened up the doors for a lot of people. He had a relationship with Rich King, and he just came off his deal with Penalty. And I think he was just done dealing with labels. He wanted to do the stuff himself. So he came with his project, and he did it with Rich. And I had partnered that at that time. I partnered with Rich King, and Rich started Fat Beats distribution. And that's when I'd opened the multiple locations for the stores. So the distribution arm started, And when Lord Finesse came with from the Crates, he had the remix record, and then he had a couple of 12 inches that did real well. And he was a very, very credible name, one of the top guys in the scene. And even though a lot of people might consider him like he's an MC, but he was known in all worlds. Every major artist knew him. Every independent artist knew him. He was like kind of like the perfect artist where he's known. Even R&B singers know Lord Finesse. So everybody knew who he was, and those projects did real well, and that opened the door for Showbiz and Diamond, and then the D.I.T.C project, which was Rich King's, like he pushed him to do that. He was really pushing to do a whole D.I.T.C project. So he was really a huge D.I.T.C fan. Really worked with all of them across the board, and helped start the labels. He did that for a lot of people, but I would say Lord Finesse was like the one that opened up all the doors for all the Digging in the Crates and affiliated projects.
Okay. Yeah, he's an amazing talent on many levels.
Yeah, for sure.
Now with Ebonics in particular, that was one of, if not the first, where I would say, quote unquote, maybe a hit that Fat Beats had that was bigger than, quote unquote, the scene per se. Like that record seemed to really stretch. Is that true from what was happening? And if it is, how did that change or shape things that were happening around that time?
Well, around that time, we also were distributing Raucous, and we were sort of like, you had to see a lot of the independent labels. Like there was a big machine behind them, which was us. So we had, I don't know if you remember Mos Def's Universal Magnetic. Yeah, we were selling that thing like crazy. We also had Reflection Eternal, Fortified Live. That was huge. And when Big L came around, I'm trying to think, was Big L's record before? Day One came out from D.I.T.C, and that thing just, that thing took off like crazy. And I think The Enemy, I don't know if The Enemy was out already when Big L went flamboyant, when he started his label. His label was Flamboyant Entertainment.
Right.
And they all had like their little imprints. There was D.I.T.C, but they had their imprints too. That was their own label with their peoples. So Ebonics was a little different. Wasn't as underground as some of the other stuff. But and it was brand new. Ron Browse. He was Rondell at the time. Now I think he's Ron Browse now, or is he just Browse? But anyway, he that was his first big record. And I remember when I was first playing it for people, I remember they're used to like the really hard underground stuff. And here comes L, it's fast, has all these hits. But once you caught on to his wordplay, it was like you were sucked in, and you just followed him. It was almost like, it was like listening like Smooth the Hustler. It's like you just want to hear everything, every line, what it means. And it was a great record for Big L, great one for us, and it just showed the talent that the underground has.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then as the store Fat Beats kept expanding, the labels expanding, how and why do you think the in-stores became so significant for you guys?
Again, man, what I said earlier, that like Fat Beats was a safe place to have the true hip hop. In the early 90s, you need to go to the Bronx, Brooklyn, certain places, and some of them places were a little rough. You didn't want to go there. So the in-stores became something too, because we would always cater to the artists, try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And the first store was really small, so the in-stores always felt packed. So people would come, and it's exciting. The energy was there. It wasn't this sort of confused times that we're in now. Everybody was just money wasn't involved yet, so cash didn't sort of ruin people's ideas. And I just knew that from growing up, buying music. You always hear, oh, such and such artist is going to be at Tower Records or HHV or HN. I forgot even H&M, whatever record stores were at the time. And so we just thought we would do the same thing. And then some of the underground artists, it was a chance for them to promote themselves. And we also always was like, all right, you got to get on. You come and do it in store, you got to get on and spit a freestyle or something. So that became a thing also. And, we'd always ask, you have a DJ, bring a DJ. The first in stores we did, I used to hire DJs to come in. Before I had before I had a staff of DJ. So I would hire a DJ to come in. So I think it just became a thing. And it was just a place, a chance for artists to meet their fans and fans to meet the artists and stuff like that.
Now I want you to listen real close to me. I'm going to ask you some real simple questions, and I want some real simple answers. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
You said that you couldn't have possibly been at the crime scene at 11:15 because you were in the bookstore buying my audio book and my hardcover book at 11:15 when the crime scene occurred in Soren's book.
The history of gangster rap.
So you couldn't have been at the crime scene because you were buying the books.
Right. At 11:15, I was at the bookstore at 11:15, and when I bought the books and accidentally left them at the store.
So at 11:15, you couldn't have been at the crime scene because you were buying books, right?
At 11:15, when I was leaving, it was some people coming in, and I forgot to grab.
But you don't remember who
what they look
people,
like.
what they look like or nothing, right?
No.
So, at 12:15, you were in the bookstore buying my audio book and hardcover book and Soren's book at 12:15. So you couldn't have been at the scene because you were buying the books, right?
Yeah, at 12, exactly, at 12:15 exactly, I was at the bookstore.
Now you see. You know you're not fucked up.
What you mean?
First you said you were at the bookstore at 11:15, and then you said you was 12:15. You know you're not fucked up, man.
He fucked up.
Yeah, he fucked up. He fucked up.
Man, you confusing me, man.
So, you get my book, my audio book, 40 years in Soren's book, History of Gangster Rap, and if you don't, you know you're not fucked up, right?
Man, the more those cops ask me questions, the more I wish I bought them motherfucking books.